Oh, here we go. We have looks like we have our commentators and I think Maggie and Dave. If you want to introduce Dave, if you want to introduce
You got it. Thank you very much. How you doing, First for Life? I am Smapty, and I have the great honor of commentating for you here today. We have a special 2v2 match of the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Open World Randomizer here for you. It's going to be BursikBadger and Wag going up against Tuaolo and Volvalis. Joining me today is my good friend Maggie the Cat. Maggie, how you doing?
Hey, Smapty and First for Life. I'm doing great. Very excited to be here and bringing this Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Randomizer to you all. We're going to take a minute here to explain how the game and the randomizer works for anyone who's not familiar with it. So this is a randomizer of the original Final Fantasy IV role-playing game that was originally for the Super Nintendo. Our development team has taken the game and kind of torn it apart and put it back together as a randomizer. So you're going to see here a lot of things are randomized. As we see already, our starting character, instead of the main character of the game, instead of Cecil, we're starting with an Edge. So the characters are randomized, the items that you can find in shops are randomized, the items that you find in treasure chests are randomized, and most importantly, the items that we're going to be getting for our key items are going to be randomized.
Yes, indeed. Now, those key items are going to be, key for our runners here. They're going to need those for both progression and for unlocking side quests and things of that nature. These are the items that are flagged in the initial game as items that you can't throw away because of their importance. You're going to be able to find them in the normal locations you would normally find key items. And also in this randomizer, you can find them in any of the trapped chests that exist in the world. They can also appear on the bosses that you would find on the moon. And in addition, the side quests that you would go on to get the summon spells for Rydia, those can also contain key items as well. So what this is essentially a giant scavenger hunt here for our racers. Now, all four of them are going to be running off the same seed. So every four of them has the same randomization of this game. Both of our teams are going to be working in tandem with each other. They are in their own voice chats with one another. So if they find a specific item, they can communicate with that with their partner. And the idea is working in tandem to create a efficient routing through the game so that they can get as much information, pass it on to their partner, and then the total times are combined at the end. The team with the lowest combined time is going to be the winner.
Yes, absolutely. And with this particular flag set, our runners are going to be looking for one particular key item, that is the crystal. That is what they need in order to make the last boss, Zeromus, vulnerable. But with this particular flag set, we're playing with the V1 flag set, which is a variant flag set. The crystal is normally a key item that can be found within the key item pool. It could be found, as Smapey said, within one of the normal key item locations, or maybe in a trapped chest with this particular flag set. But with the V1 flag set, they actually have to forge their crystal. They have to find both the adamant key, the legend sword key item, and normally when they find those two items, they would take them to the blacksmith Kakol in the underworld and forge them together to make an Excalibur. Well, with the V1 flag set turned on, they're actually going to take those two key items and forge their crystal instead, and that's how they get their crystal that they can then use to defeat Zeromus and make Zeromus vulnerable. So this is very much a kind of a treasure hunt for them, as we're probably going to be seeing both runners on each team going in different directions to find as many different key item locations and clear as many different key item locations as possible in as little time possible.
Right you are. Now, one of the fun things about Free Enterprise is we call it an open world randomizer, and the reason for that is one of the major concessions made to make the game into this sort of a new scavenger hunt that we have is that players are granted the Enterprise airship right at the beginning of the game, rather than having to go through storyline triggers in order to unlock it. This is going to give our runners availability to most of the overworld right from the get-go, though there's going to still be some places locked off. They can't get to the underworld without finding access to it, and they can't get to the moon without finding access to it. So Oh, look, we've got a bard to join our ninja here today.
Yes, so we're underway. We start the game with 2 characters. Edge, we saw, was one of them. Now we see Edward as the partner, and we start off with 1 potential key item. Now, again, with our key item set being KQMT, as Smapety said, key items can be randomized among many different locations. So this key item that we start out with may not even have been a key item. It could have been another random item that's thrown into the key item pool. But we do see that our runners are starting with the hook, which is actually a key item. It's a very important key item. It's the item that allows them to pick up the hovercraft, which is another piece of vehicle. It's another vehicle, essentially, that they can use to get around the world. And it's an item that they can use to actually get to the underground. They may have to use that to dive through Eblin Cave and the upper part of the Tower of Babel to get to the underground. It's actually the harder of the 2 routes to get to the underground. People in our community often call this the hook route, and it's kind of a fan favorite because the other way to get to the underground is to drop the magma key into the well in Agart, which is very simple. You just drop it in the well and it opens up a path to the underground. But the hook route is much more difficult. It involves a bit of a dungeon and 2 bosses that they're going to have to fight. So if that's their only route to the underground now, it's going to be a little bit harder and a little bit longer for them to get to the underground.
Yeah, definitely. You can already see that our runners are sort of diverging in their teams here. Both of our teams taking the approach of 1 player going into the city of Baron right near the start, the other going to the city of Damsian just north of there. These are both excellent places to hunt for some items early on. We have a flag on called the treasure flag, which is set to the value of 4, which means any item in the game outside of key items can appear in regular treasure locations. So really, really good to hit these dense spots where there's a lot of treasure to pick up, because they could find really high-powered equipment. And if they find anything like that, they'll be able to communicate that to their partner, tell them exactly where to go so they can get on that as well. Speaking of which, it looks like Tuaolo's picked up a piece of adamant armor. That is the best armor in the game.
Yes, absolutely. With this T4 flag set on, the best pieces of equipment that are available in the game can potentially be found in treasure chests. So they're going to be looking for things like adamant armors, crystal swords. The best armor and weapons available in the game can be found right sitting in treasure chests, as we've already seen. We also have the S2 flag enabled, which is the flag that dictates what types of items are found in shops. This means that the shop items are going to be pretty good, but not the best. So things like adamant armors and crystal swords are not going to be available in shops. Our runners are probably still going to be checking item shops for things like consumable items like life potions, cure potions. We do have the J item flag on, which means that they can get Japanese items like hourglasses, things like that. So they're going to be looking at item shops. We see Tuaolo going into the Kaipo item shop already, seeing these exit items, which is a J item, normally not available in the American version of the game, but picking some of those up. So they're going to still be looking for those items in item shops, but probably not going to be checking the weapon and armor shops, because most of their gear is going to be coming from these chests, with these high power chests.
Definitely. Just catching up on some of the routing that has been done by some of the players here. Bursik went to Mount Hobbs. Mount Hobbs is normally where you would recruit Yang in the original version of this game. However, Rydia was here in our randomized version, fighting the Kaipo guards that you would normally fight when you were protecting Rydia early in the game. Very, very easy fight. Picks up Rydia, who is not the most powerful character in the game, especially early on. She takes some time to get going. Can become a pretty decent black mage later in the game. And he's also going to the other side of Mount Hobbs here to pick up a free summon spell, and learning Jin, probably better known to most Final Fantasy fans as Ifrit, which should be some relatively decent area damage here this early in the game.
Yeah, that's actually a very nice spell for Rydia. With the Hobbs flag on, she can learn a random summon anything except for Bahamut and Leviathan, which are her 2 best summons. So you can get anything from her her elemental summons like Jin or Titan to the Imp summon, which is not so good. So that's a pretty good one for early in the game. Meanwhile, down on Skunk's screen, we saw him clearing out the Antlion Cave. We saw another very, very easy fight down there. That was the Dark Imps. Another very easy and free fight. Actually, not very good to see two really easy and free fights this early in the game. It would be much better to see those later in the game, like potentially on the moon or in the Land of the Summon Monsters, but still a very easy and free fight early in the game. And he got a coffin. That's a really nice item, but it's not a key item. So now we're seeing where some of our key item locations are not providing key items because the key items are going to be found in other spots like the trapped chests or on the moon instead.
Right, you are. Just a little peek under the hood here. The way we have these flags set up is that this is the largest possible spread of key item locations that can exist in the free enterprise. And the idea behind that is to sort of encourage both of the teammates to spread out, to check different routes, to cover as much ground as possible, and communicate with each other where these key items are. On your own, this would drastically increase the length of finishing one of these seeds, but impressively in a 2v2 setting, even though they have all of this ground to cover, a lot of teams finish these seeds within an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is pretty insane when you consider how big a game Final Fantasy IV is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really just depends on where all of our key items are found. I mean, if we can find our key items here on the overworld, the Adamant and the Legend Sword, and then they dive to the underground using this hook route that we see Tuaolo going through to forge their crystal, and then they find a pass pretty easily, which is going to enable them to get to the moon. We could see a very, very quick route here. On the other hand, if their key items that they need to forge the crystal are on the moon, and they don't find the darkness crystal until they get underground access, it could make a much longer seed. So that's what makes these randomizers so much fun and so easy to replay, because every time you play even the same flag set, it's going to be a completely different game.
Right, you are. Now, interesting to check out here on Tuaolo's screen is going to be our first runner to actually check Evelyn Cave. Evelyn Cave can only be accessed with that hook that all of the runners received as their first key item. Gets Porum as the character that would normally be here in the edge spot. So now Tuaolo has a white mage in their team. Not the best white mage, as that would definitely be Rosa, but Porum is certainly serviceable as a healer for your team. Definitely has certain advantages in certain spells that gets earlier than Rosa. Will definitely be a help here, and we'll see if Tuaolo decides to press on and try to make a play for the underworld here, or is just checking the character.
There is also another potential key item, actually two key item spots in this route that Tuaolo is on, since there are two trapped chests in this area. There's one trapped chest here in Evelyn Cave, and then one trapped chest in the upper part of the Tower of Babel. Looks like he's deciding not to take those. Those are kind of difficult fights. Edge is a very powerful starting character. He's one of the strongest characters early in the game, but still could pose kind of a challenge for this party early on. Looks like he was just going down to pick up that character for now. There's lots of other areas for them to be checking. I'm seeing people going to Fabul. There's always the trapped chest in the Tower of Zot. So lots of other places that our runners can be going to.
And a big find over on Bursik's screen at the Fabul Gauntlet, finding the Adamant, which, as we mentioned earlier, is one of the key items necessary to forge the crystal under this V1 rule set. So all the red team needs at this point is the Legend Sword, and they'll be able to forge their crystal. Now, of course, they will also need to get Underworld access, since that is where the Coco Smith is, to be able to forge that. They do have access through that hook, but that does mean going through that really treacherous hook route in order to get under there.
Absolutely. And then they're also going to need a way to get to the moon to actually face Zero. And I kind of touched on that just a little bit earlier. There are two ways to get to the moon, one being the pass, which is an item that in the original game kind of gave you access to a little hidden area in Troya where you could see kind of a little dance skit. In our randomizer for Enterprise here, the pass is a shortcut to the moon. If you give it to the barkeeper in Troya, it gives you direct access to Zeromus. You don't have to go through the dungeon on the moon, don't even have to fly to the moon, it just takes you directly to Zeromus. If you don't find the pass, you can also use the darkness crystal to raise the big whale and go to the moon, just like you normally would in the original game. And then you have, it's about a 3-ish minute walk from the moon down through the dungeon and to the Zeromus.
Yeah, the pass is definitely the preferable way to face Zeromus, but again, the pass is going to be mixed in with those other key items, so it might not be easy to find. So it really presents a dilemma where if you have the Darkness Crystal being your only access to Zeromus, are you just going to take that and go right there? Maybe do you search around a little bit for the pass? Do you maybe hope your partner comes across it? So yeah, there's a lot of interesting decisions that have to be made over the course of any given play of this game, especially in these 2v2 settings where cooperation is just so key.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see our runners kind of just overlapping right now. This would probably be a good time for any donations or just to recap on incentives if we have any of those to read right now.
We do actually have 2 donations that came through. We have a $50 donation from Bones Collie that says, not a large amount, but wanted to give a little myself, rock on. And $50 from Morgan Wolf that says, as always, thank you for helping kids get the healing help they need from Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Thank you both for the generous donations. As for the Twilight Princess incentives, those are still happening. No changes at the moment from before, so if you want to have a particular name in there, there's still plenty of time for that. Otherwise, I'll hand it back to you guys now.
Great, thank you very much. We've got Vivalis here in the bottom right making one of my favorite plays in a KT flag set, going into Eblin Castle. There are a lot of treasure chests in here to uncover. 3 of them are trapped, but especially when you have a T4 on where you can get anything out of these treasure chests, a trip into Eblin Castle can be extremely profitable. So we'll see if he is able to uncover anything big here.
Yeah, these 3 trapped chests in here, as long as you've got hourglasses, these are not going to be difficult. Yeah, it looks like he picked up a big stack of hourglass 1s. Hourglasses being a Japanese item that basically cast a stop spell on the entire enemy party. And since the trapped chests, none of the trapped chests that they're going to encounter here on the overworld have the boss bit, which are going to stop them from being affected by any of these status effects like the stop spell that the hourglasses have. They can use these hourglasses to stop the entire enemy party, and then Edge or Rydia, once she gets a few levels with that Jin summon, they're going to be able to just tear apart these trapped chests and get these items very, very quickly.
Absolutely. Another development over on Bursik's screen. Looks like the clerics of Troya were some goods. Went to go check some of the chests underneath in the Troya armory and found the crystal sword. You may be more familiar with it as the Ragnarok sword if you've played some of the updated translations of this game, but that is the best weapon in the game. It can only be equipped by Cecil after he's upgraded to a paladin. We haven't seen hide nor hair of him just yet, but considering we have an adamant armor in play, the best armor in the game that increases all stats, and we've got the crystal sword in play as well. If any of our runners come across Cecil, he is going to be an absolute powerhouse at this point.
Absolutely, very nice pickup. Down on Valvalis' screen, he did get an earth crystal from that first trapped chest that he encountered, so that is a key item. The earth crystal allows them to complete the Tower of Zot, and then I also saw that he picked up a Leviathan summon out of one of the regular chests. Leviathan is Rydia's second best summon, second only to Bahamut. So he already has his Rydia starting to power her up. She's going to be very useful clearing out most of the game. She does lag a little bit behind for the actual last boss in comparison to other black mages like Palom, but she's going to be very, very useful for the majority of the game with her summons available to her now.
Yeah, Rydia is a character who in Free Enterprise is really limited to your item access. If you can get a strong summons for her, she can be fantastic. If you're not able to find any of those high tier summons, she can really kind of struggle to contribute to your team. But yeah, with Leviathan available, she's going to have no trouble pulling her weight, especially since there are several frightening enemy formations in this game that are composed of multiple enemies, and Leviathan a very, very good way of just dealing massive amounts of AoE damage.
We also see our runners have encountered Golbez pretty early on in the game here, which is actually pretty nice. He's in the Fabul Gauntlet spot, which is a very low HP, low-level spot. Golbez can be a very, very annoying boss later on in the game. As you can see, his scripting is that he can't be attacked or hurt until he's gone through his entire script of summoning the Shadow Dragon and... oh, there's our Legend Sword! All right, so just to interrupt myself there, yes. So we have our 2 pieces of Go mode already here on the Overworld.
Yeah, that is rare that you see that. Now, we're not exactly in Go mode yet because, as far as I know, we don't have any way to actually access Zeromus and get to the end of the game. But we do have both the Adamant Ore and the Legend Sword available to us, so that lets us forge the crystal that we need to turn Zeromus vulnerable. And we do have the hook to get underground to actually forge it there. So the last piece of the puzzle our runners need to find is some way to get to Zeromus himself, and then they will be able to finish this. And then, of course, it's just a matter of making sure you get your team powerful enough to actually fight the last boss, because he is no slouch.
Absolutely. Sometimes these jet seeds, as we call them, when you find your pieces of Go mode so quickly, can be even trickier. Just because you have to find the pieces to defeat Zeromus. As far as like powering up your party, we only have 4 characters, with Porum sitting in Eblin Cave. All of these characters are... Edge is a very good character. The rest of them are kind of considered the reject characters. They were part of our reject percent seed that we ran earlier this year. They're very powerful in their own right if you find the right equipment and build them up correctly. But early in the game like this, they can be kind of suboptimal.
Well, there it is. That's Go mode.
Oh my goodness.
Now, the interesting thing here is the red team has found the Darkness Crystal, which is going to give them access to the moon. They have not found the Legend Sword yet. Meanwhile, the green team has both pieces of the crystal that they need, but they don't have the Darkness Crystal to get to the moon. So Go mode is on the table here, and it's all in the overworld. They've just got to find it now.
And Valvalis also just found the spoon. Down in one of the trapped chests in Eblin Castle. We do have the spoon flag on, which is a flag that was added by our development team that allows Edward to equip the spoon. Now, normally in the original game, the spoon could only be used by Edge as a darting weapon, but with the spoon flag on, Edward can actually equip it, and it's I think that it has the same attack strength as the Excalibur, which is the second strongest sword in the game. So that, especially along with an adamant armor, is really going to make Edward a powerhouse.
Yeah, it's a fun way to really get some revenge for Edward from being, easily the weakest character physically in the game to one of the strongest. The very much a glass cannon, though, because it doesn't really do anything about his incredibly low HP value. Yeah,
he's still a pretty weak character, but especially early in the game, if they had found that and they needed to go underground, well, they're still going to need to go underground, but if they needed to, go up to the moon or do anything else, that would make everything a lot easier for them, just clearing out the rest of the game if they needed it.
Yeah, it looks like Wag is activating his Darkness Crystal here. Calls the Lunar Whale here, which is going to allow him to access the moon. And now this is interesting because if he decides to go check out the moon, whereas Bursik is going underground, they might have just missed the Legend Sword entirely if they're going to skip out an Eblin Castle for now, which could be a massive time loss for them.
Yeah, for sure, because Bursik is in the trapped chest fight that is in Eblin Cave. This is the the to Staleman Cave. So if they are skipping Eblin Castle, that's going to be a real setback for them. Meanwhile, Tuaolo is in the fight at the top of Mount Ordeals. If they do find a Cecil, their Cecil will come already upgraded as a paladin, which will be very nice.
Yeah, a couple of things happen there too. Not only does become a paladin, but any Tella that they come across will have their full spell list instead of the meager assortment of spells that Tella normally gets at the beginning of the game. This is also how you trigger Tella learning Meteo, which he normally isn't able to cast. Meteo costing more MP than Tella normally has. But since we have those Japanese exclusive items in this game that were dummied out for the American version of Final Fantasy II, there is an item called the Soma Drop that is out there. And what that does is increases a character's max MP by 10. So if you give Tella a Soma Drop, he suddenly is able to cast Meteo outside of a cutscene, which can be very therapeutic, depending on how you look at things.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots of different things that our characters, our runners could be doing if they don't all find their go mode items altogether here. Now it does look like, let's see, where's everybody going? Bursik is going to go pick up his Darkness Crystal. Tuaolo has upgraded his Paladin and his Tella if they find them. It looks like Wag has decided not to actually go up to the moon. He is climbing up Mount Ordeals instead. He raised the big whale, but he didn't actually go up to the moon yet. So maybe he's just raising it so that when he needs it, he's got it available to him.
Yeah, could be a situation. I know this is I've done this more than once. Go into the city to do a shop check when you have the Darkness Crystal, and you have to sit through that cutscene. You gotta wait through it eventually, but so it's not like a time loss or anything, but it's always one of those, oh yeah, I've got to do this now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it looks like Valvalis is going to dive up into the Tower of Zot. There is a key item. There's going to be two key items up here. One is in a trapped chest. There's one trapped chest that could have a key item, and then there's, of course, one at the end of the dungeon that you could get. But I'm thinking that he may be doing this for the characters. There are two characters at the end of this dungeon that he could be getting, so he may just be looking to fill out his party.
Yeah, right you are. Yeah, the key item checks are nice. The big win, though, from doing Tower of Zot is those two characters, especially right now where you've got a really good character in Edge, but really don't have too much support for him. Finding the Sylph spell, though, for Rydia, which is another really solid summon for her. Healing your entire party while doing damage to the enemy, and there's a nice little bug in FF2 where Sylph spell doesn't actually cost MP. As long as you have enough MP to cast it, it never actually reduces the MP from Rydia, so it becomes a very, very useful spell for the early to mid game. But yeah, definitely getting some characters that can take Edge along to the end game would be a huge thing right now, since it's got to realize that they're getting close to being able to finish this seed, being just one item away. And in fact, yeah, his partner Tuaolo just now getting the Darkness Crystal, which means Green is entirely in go mode now. Just a matter of putting all of the pieces in place.
Yeah, we saw Valvalis pause just a moment there, probably when his partner told him in chat that they found the Darkness Crystal, probably considering whether he should reset out of this or continue on. Looks like he is continuing on, which I think is a good play, because he will get those two characters and another key item out of this. If that key item is the pass, all the better. It'll just speed up everything for their team if he does happen to find the pass. But the characters, I think, are the real find at the top of this tower here.
Yeah, Bursik did grab the Magma Key, so that is going to be an easier path to the Underworld there. Now, they still have not done Eblin Cave on the red team, so they still don't know that's where that Legend Sword is, but this means they're going to be able to skip the hook path to get underground and able to forge that crystal. So that's a pretty big advantage for them right now.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully one of those teammates on Bursik or Wag's team will remember to go into Eblin Castle soon enough and clear all of that out and get the key items there. We're good at the underground here on BursikBadger's screen. Looks like he's probably going to be starting off with some shop checks. There are 3 towns down here, so quite a few chests if he wants to pick those up along the way.
Laval's getting a first look here at the characters available at Tower of Zot. The first one is Hallam, very fantastic black mage. Normally referred to within the community as the Quake Kid affectionately because of the early access that Palom has to the Quake spell, which is a devastating area of effect spell. And is that King?
No, that's our Dark Knight, Cecil, because Valvalis has not gone to Mount Ordeals yet.
Okay, well that is another. If he decides to go to Mount Ordeals and turn that Cecil into Paladin, that could be another very, very strong member of the team, especially since we know that both the Crystal Sword and Adamant Armor are in play, which turns Cecil into an absolute monster.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, and Vivalis taking out Cecil might be interested in using him as an anchor. Maybe you might want to explain a little bit about that strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the way that enemies determine their agility in this game is normally based on on Cecil's agility, because Cecil in the original game is always in your party, so enemies' agility is normally based on Cecil's agility. But we do have a flag enabled in this flag set. It's the agility agnostic, or the AA flag, that makes it so that enemies' agility is based on the agility of the character who is in the middle slot. And so essentially the lower the agility of the character in the middle slot, the faster your own characters will go, because the slower the enemy will go, especially in the Zeromus fight. So if you have a character with a really low agility in the middle slot during the Zeromus fight, it will essentially speed up all the rest of your characters. Dark Knight Cecil has really, really bad stats. He's supposed to be a really bad character because when he turns into a paladin, his stats get really a lot better. So by keeping his stats really, really low, by not letting him level up, Valvalis could be planning on using him as the agility anchor for that fight, for the last fight in the game.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of advanced tricks that you really pick up on once you start to play Free Enterprise a lot, that there can be a lot of manipulation in terms of, adjusting enemy stats, well, specifically adjusting enemy agilities to, get you in a certain place. There's certain break points you kind of aim for the agility on your team sort of hit. It's one of those things that really separates good runners from great runners in Free Enterprise, and it's always fun to see the insane mathematical shenanigans that a lot of the top players in Free Enterprise sort of pull out and research. There's been a lot of research done into how exactly the ATB system in this game works over the last few months, and the findings have been pretty fun to digest.
Yeah, definitely. And if anyone is watching this and is interested in joining, or thinks that this looks fun and maybe wants to try it out, we do have a Discord that's very friendly toward newbies. We actually have an entire room it's called Newbies Corner, that's just for newbies, to answer questions and to welcome the newbies of the community. But anyway, if you're interested in joining, absolutely feel free to join us. The web address for just the game in general is ff4fe.com. You can find more information about the game, the developers, and then the link to the Discord on our web address. And it looks like Scala is maybe going to try to link it in the chat. So definitely feel free to check us out. We'd be more than happy to have you. We do community races. We do all sorts of community events throughout the year, and we're always happy to have new people join us.
Yeah, and one of the fantastic things about this in particular is it's incredibly modular. We keep talking about things like flag sets. Those are basically all sorts of options that you can toggle, adjust, turn on, disable. So this game can be as easy or as difficult as you want to make it. So we hold events and races for all different kinds of skill levels. You can really ease yourself in gradually. You don't have to jump into something crazy like this where the key items could be literally anywhere. So don't be intimidated by that. It's really is a lot of fun, and it's a really great way to recontextualize a classic game.
Yeah, I would say that this is a moderate flag set. Definitely not the most advanced that we've seen, but also not super newbie friendly. But we do have much more newbie friendly flag sets available, and people are very happy to help out with any kind of questions that you have. While you're racing, or if you're stuck in the middle of a seat, anything like that.
And it looks like Volvalskunk might be making the play through Evelyn Cave here to get to the underworld. In lieu of finding that magma key, looks like they might just be going for the hook route here. And if both of the players in the green team decide to make that way to the underworld, this might buy some time for the red team to catch up and find that legend sword.
Where did you see, Smeepty, where the magma key was? Was it on Ordeals?
It was not in Ordeals. Ordeals was just a great bow. I'm kind of scratching my head as to where they found that magma key. Because I don't think anybody on the green team has found it, so I'm not entirely sure where it popped up.
Yeah, I know that they obviously found it somewhere, since I saw Bursik toss it down the well, but I don't know where it was. But maybe it was in the Evelyn Cave trap chest. Is that where it was? That's what Moon is saying. Yeah, that must be where it is. Maybe
yeah, it looks like that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So did Volvalis find it? He found it. Okay, but it looks like he's going to go get he hasn't gotten the character yet, so he's going to go get Porum here.
Yeah, pick up his Porum and then immediately exit out of here. Go drop that key down the shaft in Agert and head into the underworld Z-way. So no having to worry about any trolley bosses here in the hook path. And looks like Wag is going into Evelyn Cave as well. Might be following up on the tip given by Bursik to go find the magma key there, and probably pick up Porum as well.
They still have not gone into Evelyn Castle and gotten that legend sword yet, have they?
They have not. So green team has all the pieces that they need to finish the game. Just a matter of getting the experience that they need and their team set up the way they do. Red team still needs to hit Evelyn Castle and find that legend sword in order to get caught up here.
Looks like Volvalis decided to go up into the upper Babel and get the chest there. This is the 4 Mad Ogre's chest. This normally is kind of a good grind chest on the way to the hook bosses. I'm pretty sure that Volvalis has sirens, which can be used to summon enemies that are great for grinding either in the underground or on the moon. So he might just be, looking for another key item, possibly a pass, something like that, by opening this chest.
Yeah, there's this chest gives a really decent amount of experience. Mad Ogres are worth a good chunk of XP, and you might notice him using life potions on the Mad Ogres as he defeats them. It takes advantage of a little bit of a programming oversight in Final Fantasy IV, where whenever a life spell or life effect from like a life potion or something is used on a character to bring them back from unconsciousness, it gives them HP back based on their vitality stat. Well, enemies don't have a vitality stat. It's 0 for every enemy in the game. So if an enemy is brought back with a life spell, well, they're brought back with 0 HP and they just immediately die again. So anytime he does that to use a life potion on an enemy that's dead, it comes back and dies again. So he's essentially getting twice as much XP for that fight. It's a really fun trick. You have to kind of time it properly because there's only a brief window where you can target an enemy as they're dying. And typically you can only use it once per enemy unless you do some very, very precise setups to queue up multiple life potions on a single enemy. But really good trick to keep in your back pocket to keep the XP flowing for your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And while everybody is kind of diverging and going to collect their Magna Key, getting to the underground. Do we have any donations or anything else that we need to read off, Bernard?
Nothing else at the moment. I'm almost passing it on my keyboard for a little bit.
Oh goodness.
Everything's fine now. Everything's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, well, just check. You're all right there.
Yeah. I kind of just leaned on my keyboard a little bit without realizing it. So
Couldn't tell if it was that or the world's longest ellipses, but.
Anyways, yeah, I'll leave it back to you guys for now.
And there's another great find for Bursik, finding the Bahamut Summon, the best spell for Rydia. Getting from Sheila, Yang's wife. If you go into the underworld and talk to Yang, you can go talk to Sheila and get a key item from her. It's one of the key item locations where you normally get the pan in the vanilla game. Here, not a key item there, just the Bahamut spell, so it's not progression, but it still makes Rydia all the more powerful.
And it looks like Valvalis is going to be the first one to actually go forge the crystal. We see him going to Kukol's blacksmith, talking to the blacksmith and giving over the adamant and the legend sword. And that will both open up the shop here, which he's going to check. This is a very, usually has very good items. Didn't have a whole lot that he's interested in this seed, but now he's going to go talk to the blacksmith again and collect his crystal.
Yes, that means that Vaval Skunk has everything that he needs to beat the game now. Just needs to get his team to the point that they're powerful enough to actually beat the last boss. And based on the way he's flying, I believe he's going to do it through... Oh, no, it looks like he's going to go into the Feymarch here and check the shops, I believe. Yeah,
he could be checking shops. He could also... I don't know how many key items he has compared to his partner, but if he's close, he may be looking for 10 key items so that he can get the XP bonus. If a runner gets to 10 key items, they get double XP. So if he's close, he may be looking for that double XP bonus before he actually starts his grind.
Yeah, right you are. It's one of those features. It's toggleable with our flag set, but one thing that's mostly kept on by default is to sort of make to incentivize hunting for key items and make the end game a little more palatable. Once you hit that 10th key item in your inventory, you get an experience bonus for your whole team. It makes that end game grind a little more bearable. So sometimes it can be worthwhile holding off your grind until you found that 10th key item in order to make that grind a lot less time. It's one of those things that really is situational and rewards players for being aware of how the game works and what their current situation is.
We see both Bursik and Tuaolo are fighting Kanyazu in the Dwarven Castle, but it does look like Bursik's partner Wag has decided to go back up to the overworld and clear out the trapped chests in Eblan Castle. So they are going to be rewarded pretty shortly here with the Legend Sword if they're able to clear out all three of these trapped chests.
Yeah, and I believe that this is the exact chest that has the Legend Sword that Wag is on right now. So this will mean that both of our teams are going to be in the exact same position with regards to access to the end of the game. So it's just going to be a matter of racing to get their teams powered up and finishing that fight. This is going to be a close one.
Here we see Valvalis showing us another kind of little Easter egg, talking to the temp job dwarf back in the storehouse in the dwarven town here. This was another little Easter egg that the developers put in the original game. That dwarf wasn't randomized. He was something like I think a farmer or something like that. But in all of the seeds now, you can talk to that dwarf, and he always has a different job. It looked like he was some kind of an ophthalmic laboratory technician, something like that.
I think you said that word better than I ever could. But yeah, we don't just randomize the gameplay. We've got a lot of fun randomizations, and you might notice that some of the characters look a little different than what you're used to if you're used to traditional Final Fantasy IV. That's the work of wonderful developer Scala Kitty, who you can see in chat there. She has gone in and made a number of custom palettes for all of the characters, and if you play Free Enterprise, you can access that just by putting the /fab flag on, which will activate random color palettes for all the characters. Some of them are really great. There's some great like actual references to other characters. One of my personal favorites is one for Rydia that makes her look almost exactly like Terra from Final Fantasy VI. It's good stuff.
Yeah, the Fab palette is definitely another really wonderful Easter egg that's been added into this game, and so it's definitely, like I said, definitely worth checking out if you are of Final Fantasy IV, even if you're not, have never played the game. It's worth it, first of all, to play the original game. Because it's a fantastic game, and the randomizer because it is so much fun and the community is so fantastic and so welcoming.
And Vavalskunk has made his way to the moon, checking out the shop with the Hummingways there on the moon. Might be making a play for Zeromus here. There are some different ways that you can grind XP on the moon that can be very profitable if you know what you're doing. So he might be looking for, say, those the gold Ryu fights deep within the lunar subterrane to get the levels that he needs. And
he just sold that crystal sword, which just hurts me right in the heart.
It does. I mean, at this point, yeah, probably not going to go with Paladin Cecil, but I mean, as the biggest Paladin Cecil stand that probably exists in the world, yeah, that does wound me, Vovalis.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I mean, using Dark Knight Cecil as an anchor is definitely not a bad play at all. But yeah, that Crystal Sword Cecil is definitely also very nice to see as well. Here we see a Moony Dragoon up on the lunar dais. Kane is going to join us. We'll see if he keeps that Kane. I don't know who he has in his party currently. I think he just dismissed him, which also hurts me because Kane is my favorite character. So not getting any brownie points here.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That is how you get on the bad side of the commentators there.
Yes.
Vaval's making like a Final Fantasy XIV party and kicking Kane out of the party, so we will.
Well, he's got his Spoony Bard, so I guess that's gonna be good enough for him to go beat up Zeromus. So
yeah, he does have that. There's some interesting things that you do with Edward's hide command. There's some very, very high level plays we've seen in some of our newest tournaments that people have been able to pull off some amazing stuff with Edward's hide commands. Not sure that we'll see any of that here today. I think it's just going to be gouging Zeromus with a spoon here, which is just as fun. But Edward, not as completely useless as you might think at first glance.
Yeah, absolutely. Even without the spoon, he can be very useful with that hide command if utilized properly. Meanwhile, we do see that both Bursik and Wag now have collected their Legend Sword, so both of them, once they go turn those in along with the Adamant, they're going to be in their go mode. Everybody else looks like they're just kind of cleaning up and collecting items, checking shops, trying to find a few more key items if they need that for their grind. So I think it's going to be a pretty tight race. The red team has really gotten back into it now that they've found their Legend Sword.
Yeah, being the first team to check Baron in and getting that Darkness Crystal and really having that kind of kept them in the game. And then, finally, coming across that Legend Sword, they honestly didn't lose that much time to the green team. So now it's going to be a battle of efficiency here. Like, what players can most efficiently make their team ready for the final fight, get to the final fight, and execute on the final fight. So this is really interesting. All routing is thrown by the wayside at this point. It's all a matter of game knowledge and execution. So this is going to be really, really fun to watch.
I think that Velvalis has a Dragon Whip and a Heroine Robe on his Rydia, and that's a very very efficient combination for defeating these gold dragons. Dragon Whip will hit their dragon weakness, so we'll be doing quadruple damage, and then that heroine robe just adds to Iridia's attack power, strength, and agility. So yeah, we see her doing upwards of 2,000, almost 3,000 damage per hit against these gold dragons for his grind.
Yeah, the heroine robe is definitely one of the most interesting items in this game. By default, the 3 female characters in Final Fantasy IV are mage type characters. They're on the magic side because it was the 90s, and that was what people thought of women at the time. But we know better these days, and we know that if we give them the heroine, they can be just as strong as their male counterparts in when it comes to melee fighting. And Rydia can actually become a ridiculously strong frontline fighter when you've got her dragon whip and that heroine robe, as you can see here, especially taking advantage of that dragon weakness here. It's really a testament to just how modular some of these characters can be as far as what you equip them with and how you build them.
Looks like Tuaolo has opted to go for a egg grind instead of the gold dragon grind, landing over on the little strip of land on the very west side of the underground. You can use a siren here to summon an egg. As we see, this egg, if it hatches, will hatch into a yellow dragon, but if you hit it and kill it in one hit, which it looks like his Edward with the spoon is able to do, you can kill it in one hit, and it grants quite a bit of XP. Not as much as the 2 dragons, the gold dragons up on the moon, but still, for this spot that's accessible without moon access, and you don't need to use an hourglass on it like we're seeing Volvalis having to do. This is another very good and efficient grinding spot for the underground area.
You're right, Chara, and one of the other big advantages of that it's available a lot sooner in most circumstances than the King Ryu grind. Requires a lot fewer specific gear, equipment, or spells to do. So you can actually do it in closer to the mid-game, and it can be a really good way to give yourself like a little mid-game boost. Just go grind on a couple of eggs and get high enough to do some of the bosses you might normally not be able to do when you're just getting into the underground.
I think it's interesting that Bursik is deciding to go up and do Mount Ordeals. He does have a Tella, but otherwise he doesn't really have anybody who's going to benefit from this play. He doesn't have a Cecil, and I don't know how much he's planning on utilizing his Tella for the end game. Maybe he's going to do a D-Machine grind.
Yeah, that's a definite possibility. The D-Machine grind is it's a very specialized sort of grind. It's used in the vanilla speedrun of this game, where you do a certain setup within the Giant of Babel to get a specific fight against a searcher that whenever you hit it, summons an enemy called a D-Machine. The D-Machines give a lot of experience, but you need a good way to take them down quickly. Tella is one of the characters that can take them down quickly with access to the weak spell, which sets an enemy's HP to single digits, so you can immediately kill them with a follow-up attack. You can drop a life potion on them to get double experience from them, and sort of just keep summoning them ad nauseum, so you don't have to get start the fight, end the fight, restart the fight, end the fight. You just keep fighting them over and over by hitting that searcher until you've gotten all the experience that you want. It's one of those tools to keep in your pocket as far as getting your party powered up. That's one of the grinds that you can do.
Yeah, it can be a very efficient grind if you happen to get access to the Darkness Crystal and someone like Tella or Fusoya early in the game, but you don't have something like Sirens that would let you do either the Egg grind or the Gold Dragon grind that we see on Volvalis and Tuaolo's screen. It's also really good for what we call the Slingshot grind. I don't think he's going to be able to do that with his team on Bursik's screen, but just to explain it real quickly here while we have a little bit of time, with our flags enabled, with these particular flags, as long as you have 5 characters in your party, if one of them, or even 2 of them, if up to 2 of your characters are particularly under-leveled compared to the rest of your party, they will gain extra experience points to help them level up. So this is really useful if you happen to have, say, Rydia, who joins at level 1, or a Paladin Cecil, who, once you turn him into a Paladin, he starts at level 1. You can take them then immediately to the D-Machine grind and gain lots of XP on that one fight by killing, 5 or 6 D-Machines, and then they're going to slingshot by gaining up to 4, I think it's 4 times more XP as the rest of your party, because they're under-leveled compared to the rest of your party, and you can slingshot them in one fight from level 1 to level, say, 60 in one fight in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's always fun to end a fight and see, Rydia gained 63 levels. That's there's a novelty to that never wears.
Yeah, absolutely. It does take a little bit of setup. You have to have, like I said, you have to have the Darkness Crystal, and you have to have somebody like Tella or Fusoya to do it. But it's definitely fun when you can pull it off.
So yeah, another reason Bursik might have wanted to do that Mount Ordeal play is to get weak on Tella to do a King Ryu grind of lacking Rydia with a Dragon Whip. Another easy way to take care of those King Ryus that we see Vovalis fighting in the bottom right is to use that weak spell on them, because again, that's going to take them down to single-digit HP. They're easily disposed of after that, and they're vulnerable to that to the weak spell. So that could be another reason why he wanted to climb ordeals there.
That's very true. At least one of the Dragon Whips that we've seen was in Edlin Castle, where we got the Legend Sword. But if he didn't happen to open that chest because it wasn't required, he just went straight to the Legend Sword chest and only got that. He maybe didn't get that Dragon Whip. So using that weak spell is going to be faster and more efficient for him to do his grind at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. It really shows just how many avenues to runners of this game, and it's really all about finding the one that you think is going to be the fastest given your current circumstances. There's really so many decisions that have to be made at every single part of this game. It's very difficult to just autopilot in. You really always have to be thinking, is this the most efficient approach? Is this the best thing to do given the resources I have available? So really makes every run of this game incredibly dynamic.
Yeah, and it's really fun to see the different options and different strategies that our runners are utilizing, especially with a seed like this where, they found everything that they needed pretty quickly, but we still saw a lot of divergence available to them.
Are you actually going?
And it looks like Vovalis Skunk has done everything that he feels he needs to fight Zeromus. He's on his way. He's as strong as he thinks he needs to be. So let's see what he's capable of.
So we do have a question that we like to ask when we see our runners approaching the final battle. In our community, it's a question that we ask as they approach the Zeromus fight. Smapty, would you like to do the honors?
I would be delighted. Whose butt are we going to kick today?
And we already see Scala and some of our other community members getting out their Z flags. With the Z flag enabled, the sprite for the last boss can be randomized. And I believe that Scala has actually provided us with a brand new shiny Zeromus fight special for this particular seed. I think it was the Deltarune sprite that won the incentive, so we're about to see what it is.
Is it good?
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
Chaos, indeed.
I can do anything.
I love how part of it is like overlapping with the party.
That's pretty amazing. So thank you to everyone in the community who donated for the incentive. Really do appreciate it, and definitely shout outs to Scala Kitty for making this happen here.
Yeah, it's amazing. That is really fantastic.
So we should note that even though the sprite is different for every seed of Free Enterprise, the fight itself actually is the same. The fight itself isn't randomized. It's a very tough fight. There's definite like breakpoints and places you need to be HP wise and damage wise to be able to survive it. It's a very specific script that has been scrutinized over and over by different members of the community to try to squeeze out more efficiency out of this fight. But what it basically comes down to is Zeromus has a number of really nasty counterattacks to specific spells. So it's all about working around that and making sure that you're able to survive his Big Bang attack, which does massive amounts of damage to your entire party.
And we can see here how the agility anchor is really coming into play. We talked about that a little bit earlier by keeping that Dark Knight Cecil dead and keeping his agility as low as possible. That is affecting and manipulating Zeromus's agility. And you can see, compared to the rest of the party, his Edward is getting so many attacks compared to Zeromus here. I think Edward got like 4 or 5 attacks before the first Big Bang even came out because of that agility manipulation.
Yeah, Edward and Edge, 2 of the fastest characters in the game. Dark Knight Cecil at his initial level, slowest. So the difference being that we're going to see those speedsters on Vovalis' team working overtime here to get in as many attacks as they can. One of the other big benefits is he's put the Berserk effect on both of them, which means that the computer is inputting all of their inputs for them, so there's no delay when the menu comes up and having to put them in yourself, which seems minor, but the way the ATB system in this game works, it's essentially flooding the command list for who's getting a turn, who's getting an action that gets in, what priority it's coming out, which is resulting in even fewer turns for Zeromus.
Here comes the second Big Bang. His characters are very low level and have very few hit points, so we'll see how many, if any of them, survive this. Yeah, it looks like only his Edge is going to survive. His Edge is still berserked, but either he's going to get Black Hold. Yeah, there's the Black Hole, which is going to remove his Berserk status on Edge. So now Edge will get one more attack, and then he's going to be able to control Edge again here. And but he got nuked. Oh, that's really unfortunate for Vovalis. So that was a.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say he's going in with a team that. Essentially, right now, the sort of HP values that you're looking at on his team are very, very low compared to what you would normally go into this fight for. So he's going in with a team of characters that aren't normally suited for this fight because of their low HP value. Rydia and Edward in particular have HP totals that are well below that the threshold of what Big Bang usually hits for. Porum is another character that's sort of borderline that requires maybe a few more extra levels than other characters in order to hit that HP threshold that's comfortable. So this is a very risky team that Vovalis is using, but Vovalis a very seasoned runner of this game. So if anybody can make this work, it's him.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that he was probably hoping that he had done enough damage to slip into the Meteo phase, which is the last phase of the Zeromus fight, and then hoping that Edge would either miss or get a turn to get a cure off before he actually got hit by the Meteo. But yeah, just did not quite make it there. But he's going to go right back into it. I think that he can make it. I think it's just going to be a little bit of a matter of luck here.
Yeah, some of the damage rolls just have to pop up. a little high on his end. Maybe get a little less rolls on the Big Bang to make more characters alive. But yeah, this if the dice fall like he wants them to, then he should be able to squeak this out.
Yeah, definitely. We see Bursik and Tuaolo are finishing up their grind here. Not sure if Wag is still grinding or not. Looks like he's finishing equipping his party, so he may be done with his grind and just doing some final inventory and equipping at this point.
Looking at his levels, it looks like they're a little on the low side, so he still might be doing a little bit more grinding. I saw a couple 30s in there. Yeah, it's mostly the mid-30s, so I think he's probably going to grind a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, it looks like he does have... He's probably equipping for his grind at this point then.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So just to explain this Zeromus fight now that we're kind of seeing it again, we open up, of course, with the crystal. That's what makes Zeromus invulnerable. Without the crystal, you wouldn't even be able to attack him. And then typically we see something, usually a silk web, used to both make Zeromus lower. The silk web will cast like a double slow on Zeromus so that it slows him down even more. And then also it nerfs his first Big Bang. So if you use a spell or something like a spell like a Silk Web on Zeromus before he uses his Big Bang, it actually nerfs his next magic attack. So he does counter with a nuke. So we saw the Silk Web come out and then he countered with a nuke, but then the next magic attack that Zeromus uses is actually nerfed. So we're going to see this Big Bang that's about to come out in just a moment here is actually going to be much weaker than it normally is because of the Silk Web that he used. It looks like he also decided to use a Bacchus wine on his Iridia, which is going to berserk her. That's going to do a little bit of extra damage. It's also going to flood the input pool like we were talking about earlier, so that Zeromus will be even just a little bit slower.
Yeah, not necessarily looking for extra damage with that Iridia. Honestly, putting out some really serious damage, all things considered. But yeah, it really is about that, just trying to clog the command queue as much as possible, try to leave as few openings for Zeromus to get in as they can. And it's really fun when you're in a position when you can get Berserk on all 5 of your characters. The legendary Quint Zerker is a seriously fun strategy to approach Zeromus with.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And Wag is on the moon now, heading down into lunar subterranean, having done all of the... Looks like it might be making a play for Zeromus himself.
Interesting that Tuaolo exited out of the moon. Looks like he maybe needs to go back down to the planet to get some equipment. He maybe needs to do some shopping before he's ready for his Zeromus fight.
And I think we have an item queued up here from the forum, excuse me, on Vivalis' screen. It's reusing the crystal. The reason he does that is this is actually considered a spell effect as far as the game is concerned. So it means that Zeromus is going to counter it with his nuke, but that's also going to lower his magic power for a couple of ticks. So if you time it just right, using the crystal like that can get another nerf Big Bang out. Let's see if the timing was right. We'll look at the damage here. And yes, it looks like it was nerfed properly. Does lose edge there, but shouldn't be a problem getting him back up. Meanwhile, he still has Edward with that spoon plinking away for a serious amount of damage. So really, really strong play there by Vivalis.
That was a very, very scary counter nuke because it did land on his edge. And this is a very, very scary Meteo that we're seeing right here. Ooh, took out everybody except his Porum, but he is still standing, and she got her Cure 4 off, so she is at full health, so he's okay.
Yeah, now it's going to be the tricky situation of trying to get somebody up and healthy enough to survive in these Meteos does have a very low hit rate for spell. You can see right there the animation doesn't even play. Completely missed his team. Gets the Bacchus out on Edward. He might be able to clinch this out here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. He's got a Cure 4. Yeah, here comes the Cure 4 on Edward. So yeah, I think he's fine now.
Should be one or two more attacks from that Spoon Word, and it'll be GG for Vovalis. Ooh, big hit there by the Meteo. Should be able to recover. Oh, just needs one more. There it is. Got the shake.
Oh my goodness. Ooh, indeed. Porum really pulling it through at the end of there.
Yeah, I take back anything I might have said negatively about Porum. She was the heroine there that we all
No kidding.
Skunk. Finishing in first place here, which means that the red team is now on the clock. Now, the combined time of both teammates is put together in order to get the total time for your team. So red team is not out of the competition here by any stretch of the imagination. But every second that they waste right now at this point is adding up. So they really need to get together, maybe make some earlier plays on Zeromus now that they see that one player has finished in order to try to get a better time in. Green team definitely has the advantage here, but red team by no means out of this.
Yeah, definitely. And Valvalis, congratulations, coming in first place with a time of official time of 1:05:30. It looks like. So he has taken first place. Hopefully, we will see what his partner is able to do in the Zeromus fight, if they are going to take first place overall, or if red team is going to come in and snipe them for that.
Yeah, Tuaolo is heading down through the subterranean now. I'm not sure if they have done their grind yet or not. Looks like yes, they have, taking levels there. So should be a save here, and then heading to Zeromus. So the red team needs to make a play here soon because the green team has their second player heading towards Zeromus to finish this up.
And we see chat is asking Valvalis to go look for the twin harp in the meantime so that we can cue up that music.
Yeah, in confirmation Discord, yeah, Valvalis is going to get back in and start the harp hunt now.
Oh, excellent.
So yeah, one of those other fun Easter egg randomizations we do, there are just a cavalcade of MIDI orchestrations of not just Final Fantasy music, but also video game music in general that have been programmed into Free Enterprise, and every seed has a different song in it. So the song that Edward normally plays to help you defeat the Dark Elf in Cave Magnus is randomized, and it's one of the more fun things to find out what song you're going to get on a given seed.
Yeah, and I believe it's Boardface himself who's developed most, if not all, of the songs that are available, and Scala's saying that there's around 150 songs available, and both the harp music and the Z sprites are something that our community members have the option to put their input into. If you have a sprite or a song that you would like to see available, there is a form that you could fill out for suggestions for that, and then Scala and Board will take those into consideration. So if you are a community member or want to become a community member and want to see a specific Z sprite or hear a specific harp song, come and join us and put those suggestions in, and they're always looking for new things to add to those pools.
Yeah, and especially if you get good enough to win turn prizes include getting custom Z sprites as well. So there's your incentive to join in.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we're seeing the spoiler log. I didn't catch the first few, so I don't think we've seen the harp yet. But here we're going to see where the harp is at and see if we can find out if it's something that Valvalis can go get relatively easily for us.
Yeah, I imagine that's what he's checking for in his screen as well.
Meanwhile, Tuaolo is going into the Zeromus sprite down on his screen.
Oh, it's making us wait.
It really is. We're going through everything here. Oh, did you know that Kakol had the crystal, Smeepy?
I never would have known.
So it's a surprise.
It's in the Fey March.
Okay, well that's at least it's not behind a big chain. That's pretty.
That's an easy pickup there.
Yeah. Yeah, and we see Valvelis resetting out right away. He's gonna exit out of the moon and go down and get that. Tuaolo unfortunately took a wipe here to Zeromus. I think he had kind of I don't know if he mistimed his nerf and then just took I think he took a full power Big Bang at the beginning there. So yeah, the beginning of his fight just did not go well. So he reset out to the very beginning of the moon, and now he's going back down to the Earth to get some more items before he tries that again, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks probably felt a little unprepared going. Oh, actually, it looks like might be going to pick up an anchor here. Going to Mount Hobbs, grab a low-level Rydia, and use that to make Zeromus far slower. That's a very heads-up play there.
Yeah, definitely not a bad idea at all.
Now, we do see it as adult Rydia, since he has done at the bosses, rather, at Dwarf Castle. It's another one of those storyline triggers that Rydia will grow up if you've done that boss fight. What it does is changes her equipment setup to what she can equip as an adult, and it also gives her those missing Tier 2 spells and Tier 2 summons that she would normally get when she rejoins your party in the Underworld.
It also enables her to equip the Strength Ring and the Zeus Gauntlet.
Yep, if you want Warrior Princess Rydia even stronger, make her an adult and slap that Zeus Gauntlet on her, and she will do a lot of damage for you.
Yeah, with the setup that Valvelis had with the Dragon Whip and the Heroine Robe, if he had a Zeus Gauntlet and an adult Rydia, you could definitely make her even stronger with that if you wanted to.
And you just answer a question in chat there. Never played FF. There are actually a number of people in our never played the vanilla game and played Free Enterprise. So don't let that be a barrier for you. I had only played the original game like years and years ago when I got a Free Enterprise, so I basically had to relearn the game anyway. So if this looks interesting, don't let that be a barrier. It's definitely playable without having any prior knowledge.
Yeah, I would say it's you should play FF4 anyway because it's a fantastic game. But no, I know you weren't. No, but to anybody listening, yeah, you can definitely jump into the randomizer without having to play the original game. But I think everybody should play the original game anyway because it's a fantastic game. So Tuaolo had gone down to get his anchor, Rydia, but then he had completed the fight without killing Rydia off, and so she was going to gain some levels. So now he's redoing the fight and we see him killing his Rydia off. That's so that she doesn't gain any levels, doesn't gain any agility, is going to stay level 1 with the lowest possible agility for his Zeromus fight. That's going to make his characters especially fast, extra fast for that Zeromus fight if he keeps her at the lowest possible level.
Yeah, and this is providing an opportunity for the red team to sneak in there. We see his fight. If he can take care of this fight in his first try here, that's going to make this a very, very interesting between the two remaining runners to take first place. So this is ending up way, way closer than it might have seemed at first. And I think he got the nerf on that first Big Bang, but it still seemed to roll very high.
That was a very high Big Bang. I don't know if that was nerfed. That was not a very nerfed one, but yeah, that took out his Palom and did a considerable amount of damage to everybody else. It doesn't look like it was the first Big Bang, though. If that was followed by a black hole, that must have been the second Big Bang.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's several distinct phases to the Zeromus fight, and I won't bore you by going down the entire AI script, but one of the things you can count on in this first part is that he'll do a couple of Big Bangs, and then he will give you a break by using Black Hole, which removes all of your buffs, wasting a turn, and then doing another Big Bang. So usually that's kind of your refresher period, where you can sort of recover, get things where you need to be, and then get back into the fight that way.
Yeah, so Bursik does have a few more hit points and a few more levels, I think, than Valvalis did, but we still see that his Porum went down there to that full-powered Big Bang. Big Bang can do anywhere from, like 1700 all the way up till, like, I think that one did about 2200 to his Porum. It just kind of depends on the rolls, the RNG, also what kind of equipment you have. It is a magic attack, so if you have more magic evade and magic defense, you will take less damage from it, but still took some extra hits there and then did unfortunately go down. So and I think that both his Edge and his Cane are berserked, so yeah, he's going to take another Big Bang, full powered Big Bang here.
Yeah, just going ahead and taking the reset there. Really very little chance of recovering at that point. But yeah, one thing to keep in mind going into the fight is Zeromus doesn't use any physical attacks whatsoever. It's all magic-based damage. So that's one sort of little advantage you can give yourself, is to make sure you stack your magic defense before you go in, and any physical-based armor isn't going to really help you at all.
Yeah, and in fact, things like there's a particular piece of equipment called the Glass Helm, which can be very good in certain fights because it's got one of the best physical defenses in the game, and for fights like Baigen, for example, who really only does physical attacks. He's got one attack that's a vampire, which I don't think it's physical, but he really does a lot of physical attacks. That Glass Helm will be great against certain bosses like him, but against Zeromus, it's really not good at all, because Zeromus is going to do all magic-based attacks, and so you want to really stack your magic evade and magic defense against the last boss here.
And Valvalis has found the Twin Harp and is heading over to Cave Magnus to give us all a listen to the music here. So a couple of minutes, we'll have that for you.
Looks like he's taking a detour through Baron Inn first. He may just be kind of killing time here while he knows that the rest of the runners are still finishing up the Zeromus fights.
I want to say this is where the package is, so he might be grabbing the package to show off what the package sprite is for the seed.
Oh, that could be, yeah. So that's another Easter egg that we've implemented. All sorts of little fun things.
We love Easter eggs in this community.
Absolutely. So the package, of course, is a key item that if you take it into Mist Village, you will watch a little cutscene, and at the end of it, you can get a character. It's kind of a long cutscene, so most of the time you're not going to see characters go out of their way to do it. But one of the fun little things is that the cutscene involves usually a sprite of some bombs flowing out of it, because the idea is that the village is being set on fire, and so you see bombs coming out and setting the village on fire. In Free Enterprise, the sprite that comes out of the package is randomized, so you could see chocobos, or you could see swords, or you could see cane, you could see anything coming out. So that's probably another thing that he's going to go do and show us at the end here.
And I think we just got rated. So, Bernard, did you want to jump in and say something here?
Yeah, sure, I guess. Firstly, welcome to all the raiders that came in from Doria's stream. Yeah, we're currently doing a Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise 2v2 randomizer. At the moment, also, if you're interested, we have a bid war coming up for the Twilight Princess run. At the moment, we have the character names for Link and Epona. With Link's name, we have Stinky sitting on $120 and Owo sitting on $115. For the Epona name, we have Daytona at $50 and Nerdbean at $4.20. So, if you have a preference for what name you want to get those characters named as, there's still a lot of time to get those donations in. Otherwise, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the runs and enjoy everything else we've got going on here. And yeah, I'll pass it back to the commentators now.
Great, thank you so much. Now, one thing you'll notice Bursik doing on here is he's actually bouncing the nuke spell off of Palom, who has the wall status or reflect status, as you might know it from more recent entries on. What this does is it allows him to essentially ignore Zeromus's counterattack script. So normally Zeromus would counterattack a nuke spell with a nuke of his own. But since it's being bounced off the reflect, it's already treated as a counterattack. So since there's a rule in the game that says you can't counter a counter, Zeromus does nothing instead, and it lets Palom contribute significantly to the damage here without any fear of reprisal.
Yeah, we see him doing it here with the white spell as well. Can be done with any magic except for reflect magic, since summon magic. So Rydia can't reflect summon magic like Bahamut or Leviathan. So, but it's a very common strat if you have a party full of mages. Now, meanwhile, we see Valvalis showing us the package sprite down on his screen.
It looks like it's full of white chocobos today.
I've seen that one before, yeah.
So it turns out it was chocobos that destroyed Mist Village, and oh, Rosa was there the whole.
So we have white chocobos and a white mage.
A white mage in her goth gear, it would seem.
Showing off some more excellent fab palettes.
She's getting ready for Halloween.
Is there like a little bit of a break?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Go for it.
I was just going to mention this before, but I actually forgot about it. So, to all the raiders that just came in from Doria's stream, welcome again. This is Fastest First for Life, a charity speedrunning event set up in order to raise funds to go towards the Children's Miracle Hospital Network. So, over the weekend, we have a variety of speedrunners basically doing their stuff and showcasing some of their skills for their preferred games. And yeah, that was pretty much it. I kind of forgot that before, so I apologize.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you so much for the information. And we do see here that Bursik has defeated Zeromus and come in second place. GG to him. Looks like he has come in second place.
So yeah, this is going to be a showdown between Wag and Tuaolo here. Tuaolo definitely has the advantage since Valvalis was able to finish, so much faster with his first place victory. But if Tuaolo gets hung up on this Zeromus fight, does a couple of wipes, Wag can get right back in this. So this will be very, very interesting to see their execution here.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like Tuaolo's already in the fight. Wag is just about to start it, so it's going to be really close here to see which one of them is able to take the third place finish here.
It looks like a little resetting here from Tuaolo after the Big Bang. Gets the Bacchus back up on Edward here. And there's the Shake, which indicates another Big Bang coming in. And gets the Cure 4 off in time. So should be able to live through this. Without the nerf, though, it probably is going... Edward probably won't survive this one.
Looks like he's opted to berserk his Palom instead of doing reflect strats. Interesting, because he won't do as much damage, but like we talked about earlier with Valvalis, he is going to clog the queue more with the berserk inputs, as opposed to the nukes, which he's going to have to input manually, and then is going to just take more time and not slow his Zeromus down as much.
So that was a nasty Big Bang. One of the side effects of the Big Bang spell is it actually puts all of your characters into the HP sap condition. So every tick they start losing HP. So even though his Porum hung in there with 2 HP after the Big Bang, a tick later lost the HP. That's what that HP ran out message meant there at the top. So that's going to unfortunately be a wipe for Tuaolo, and this is going to give Wag a window to get some time back up here.
Yeah, it looks like he's through his first Big Bang at least, and getting his edge had fallen, but getting his edge back up, getting that Cure 4 up, got the rest of his party up here. So seeing another Shake, so another Big Bang is coming out.
Yeah, his HP's a little on the low side here. This is going to be pretty critical here. Oh, that's a lot.
Ooh, but his Porum does survive, so...
Yeah, that is who you want to be living through to be able to mount a successful recovery after something like that. The life spell's going out here, targeting Edward, getting him back up. Oh, but that seems like that's a very fast Zeromus. Yeah, not giving him a lot of time at all there.
Yeah, he spent kind of a lot of time trying to decide what to do with his Palom, and then the Shake came out. So that's what we were talking about. Just the speed of your inputs really can determine a lot. If you take too much time trying to determine what to do, that gives Zeromus more time to input his own commands, and it can be really critical.
Yeah, it's one of the advantages of that Berserk spell is it removes the player from the equation. The computer obviously is going to put its commands in immediately, whereas the player is always going to have to spend some amount of time. There is a little trick you can do called run buffering that can give yourself a little extra time to put things in. You might see some of our players try to do that, but essentially if you hit L and R on the controller, your characters will attempt to run away. If you try to run away from a boss fight, you'll get the message "can't run." If you time it properly so that "can't run" message shows up at the same time as one of your characters' turns comes up and their menu is there, no other character will gain ATB while that "can't run" message is up. So you have as long as that dialog box is at the top to input in a command, and it can buy you some precious frames that can really decide a lot of these really close fights like this.
Yeah, again, some pretty advanced strategies that we're talking about here. I think Valvalis did it once or twice during his Zeromus fight. Meanwhile, it looks like Wag is deciding to go back down to the planet and now to the underground. He might be looking for some items that he missed. He maybe doesn't have silk webs. I wonder if that's what he's missing.
Yeah, that is a crucial element for the Zeromus fight. Each application of the silk casts slow twice on the enemy, and yeah, the slow spell actually stacks in this game, believe it or not. So throwing one of those out early on Zeromus will not only get you in a position where he counters with a nuke so that nerfs his first big bang, but also makes him substantially slower and much, much easier to deal with in the long run.
Yeah, and we see that's exactly what Wig went and got a stack of. It's good to have a couple extra just in case the first one misses, or it gets removed for any reason. So yeah, he's going to have, I think, a much easier time just by having those silk webs available. Seeing another Big Bang here on Tuaolo's screen. Hopefully his Porum can survive this.
Yeah, it looks like it was nerfed, so only about 800 damage going out per character.
Very nice.
manageable. And yeah, while Free Enterprise randomizes the location, and that's for a reason. It is very, very much designed to be the final boss. Requires these certain amount of HP to survive certain attacks, and it really just serves as a very good capstone to the game. So that's why it's left where it is.
Oh yeah, I know some people have asked if Zeromus would ever be added into the boss pool, and I don't think that that's something that they're going to do anytime soon. I think it would be way too much of an issue if you encountered Zeromus early in the game.
That being said, if you do want to play this game with a random end block, there is another variant called Giant Percent that you can do. Where instead of going to Zeromus to end the fight, you go inside the Giant of Babel, and you have to beat the boss there that is normally in the CPU spot. So that is an alternative way that you can do if you want a more randomized end game where you're not sure what boss you're going to have to go up against to beat the game, and that requires a completely different approach to how you defeat the game than you would ordinarily beat Zeromus Flag. So again, it's just kind of a testament to how much is available here.
Yeah, it just changes up what key items you need to get. Like in this variant, of course, you need to find the crystal and a way to the moon. In Giant Percent, you need to find the darkness crystal. The pass is useless. The crystal is useless. It's actually pretty funny if you go and talk to Zeromus in a Giant Percent seed. You should try it out and see what happens. Ultimately, you can't use those items to finish the seed. You need the darkness crystal, and you need to get into the Giant of Babel to actually finish the seed.
And Tuaolo, taking another wipe, is going to head back out. And it looks like, are they trying to do a little bit more grinding, or are they going to exit the subterranean entirely here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if maybe he's looking for something in particular. But Wag is going to go back into it now with these silk webs that he's got. Hopefully he will have an easier time of this fight. Looks like Tuaolo was looking for a grind spot. You can actually encounter these gold dragons on a couple of different floors, and he maybe just wasn't aware that there is another floor that's closer to the save point that you can actually find these on. So this is a floor that's closer to the entrance, so that if you didn't want to go all the way down to the save point to fight them, you can actually just go down a couple of floors from the entrance to find them. But there's one that's pretty close to the save point as well that you can find them.
And it looks like we might be getting our music over the screen. So I guess we're going to shut up for a second and let you enjoy it.
And that's a lovely rendition of the Green Hill Zone from the original Sonic.
Yeah, that sounds really nice in the MIDI harp.
Yeah, it does. I really got to give it to the developers for picking and then developing the harp songs the way that they do. They really both pick the songs that are suited for the harp, and then the way that they render them is always just really, really gorgeous.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to everybody who donated. Donation incentive for the song and the Zeroma Sprite here, the marathon. Hugely appreciated all your generosity there, and hope you enjoyed the little bonus there.
Oh, we have another bonus. Well, I guess we can talk about this a little bit, Smeepty, if you want to, since we're seeing it.
So, ordinarily, if you remember the vanilla Final Fantasy IV, you would get an item from a key item from Edward at Troya. It was the twin harp he would give you that you would then need to go to be the Dark Elf with. Well, we have a flag set that we normally use in a lot of our competitions called No Free Lunch. And what that does is it prevents you from getting anything in the game without having to beat a boss first. So any of the character positions or key item spots that wouldn't require at least overcoming some kind of challenge in the game to get to are going to be accessible. So that means we have to remove Edward's free key item since there's nothing gating you from getting it. So what do we do with that key item? Well, the solution we came up with is that the Mist Dragon, whenever you beat it in the world, now makes Rydia's mom appear inside of Mist Village. And she will then give you the key item that's slotted for her that you would normally get from Edward there. So in most flag sets, there's often a hunt for this Mist Dragon. And a lot of times it can show up in places where you would normally get key items. And it's considered sort of a bonus round, because not only do you get the regular key item, but then you get to check with Mrs. Rydia and see what she has as well. So always exciting to find the Mist Dragon, except, well, we already knew everything was in this seed, so not so exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes Mist Dragon can be a real, like a bonus treasure hunt. Like if the runners clear everything else that they possibly can, and they haven't found their progression, or they haven't found their crystal, or they haven't found the item that they need to make the crystal, if they're missing part of it, then they know that D-Mist is holding that item. And D-Mist can be in a non-required boss spot. It could be in the original D-Mist location, which is not required. You don't need to go through the Mist Cave to complete this randomizer. It could be in the Giant of Babel, which is not required. It could be in one of the Hook boss locations, which maybe isn't required if you found the Magma Key. So it can be pretty trolly sometimes, and it's actually like a fan favorite among the crowd for D-Mist to be holding a piece of progression in a trolly location.
Yeah, chat never wants to make things easy for the runner. So
no, never. they want all the hook seeds with the progression behind D-Mist at CPU, all the crazy stuff to make the runners go way out of their way.
All right, so Wag going in for another attempt. It's an exceptional pain for a lot of our runners today.
Yeah, this team is really a kind of a difficult team. The party setup that they have is kind of a difficult party for them to be playing with. Like we said, these characters are not the easiest. They are very low hit points, most of them. Edward and these mages that we have, the Rydia and the twins. So they either need a lot of levels, or you just need to really know how to work with them in order to get through this fight properly. So they're really giving it their all. It's not an easy fight, and we're seeing here how difficult this last boss can be.
Yeah, and like we mentioned earlier, a lot of the HP values and how a lot of these characters were never really meant to be brought to the end game. These characters have stats programmed in the game as if, all the way up to maximum level and everything. But if you recall the original game, you were only given the team of 5, the Cecil, Kane, Edge, Rydia, and Rosa to take to the final boss. So, there's some characters here that are very low on the very low HP pools, like the twins, definitely Edward, that make them, struggle in this last fight. And that's why we kind of talk about how their end game viability isn't as high as some of the other characters. But still, you can make them work. It's just you either need extra levels or extra care in order to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, another flag that we have on in this flag set that we haven't seen utilized and haven't really talked about at all is the rescue flag, which would allow them, if they wanted to, for example, go get that cane that they had dismissed, it would allow them to go back to Mysidia and re-recruit any characters that they had seen and dismissed. So if they wanted to go get another character that, like Kane or anybody else who they had dismissed, they could do that and then level them up. I don't think they're going to do that at this point, but I just did want to point that out, that is another option for them if they wanted to do that.
Yeah, that was one of the nicer features that came with big updates. Before that, you had to make a hard character, whether they were joining you or not, because there was no way to reverse it. So that rescue flag was a nice way to alleviate some of the decision paralysis that was a part of earlier seeds.
Yeah, definitely.
Nothing smarted harder than getting rid of a Cecil only to find.
Yeah, and if they did want to, I don't know if both of them have the Earth Crystal. We know that I don't know if they know, but we know that there is that Cecil that's up on top of Tower of Zot. They could go get him as well. Again, they've already done their grind. At this point, they would have to go recruit the characters and then do another grind. With the slingshot grind that we had talked about earlier, and then they might have by having all the key items that they've already picked up. It wouldn't be too long, but it would still be, another 15 to 20 minutes to do all that to get their characters up to level.
Yeah, at this point, they're pretty much keyed in on what characters they want to use. But yeah, the option is all available.
Yeah,
Wag's looking pretty good here so far.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, Tuaolo looks like they're in pretty good shape as well. They're just starting the fight, so getting their setup for what we call hybrid strats, where they're going to be doing both the reflected strats with their mages, and then also berserk strats with their melee characters.
We got falling rocks on Wag's screen. That Meteor spell is indication that he is in the last phase of the fight. It's just a matter of about 12,000 more HP, and that is it. Wag has finished. We see the final flag, and Zeromus goes down. So the first team to finish is the red team, BursikBadger and Wag the Dog, both finishing. Both finishing. So it is going to down to Tuaolo now. He's got to finish with a good enough time that they still manage to beat out the combined time of the red team. We'll see how the math checks out here.
Absolutely. So GG to Wag for coming in third. Tuaolo is looking like he's in much better shape than he was before. I think he had gone and done a little bit more grinding. His hit points are looking a lot better than they were the last time he was in this fight.
Yeah, you can see that magic 1800 HP on Palom now. That is a nice, safe place to be. You'll survive a good number of big bangs with that much HP, so this should be a much smoother fight for him this time. Yeah, full-on hybrid strats here, taking advantage of both the nuke and the white. White is a little less desirable just because it has a slightly higher casting time, but still, it's a good way to get some serious damage out of a late game Porum on turns that she isn't needed to get everyone's HP back up.
Yeah, and with this party, it looks like they've got plenty of time to be getting the extra inputs and the extra actions in. So yeah, she's going to be contributing quite a bit of extra damage here, along with the Palom doing nukes, and then Edward and Edge contributing all the melee damage there. We see the shake, so another big bang is coming out. Never mind. It looks like we got the flash, and Tuaolo has finished. So right behind Wag, coming in fourth, but not by very much time at all. He's finishing up here. So GG to Tuaolo coming in and finishing up his run.
Yeah, GG indeed. We'll have to get the official times to calculate here, but I believe based on the differential between Bursik and Volvalis there that the green team is going to be the winner here.
Yeah, but either way, GG to both teams. They both showed exceptional skill here and did a fantastic job cleaning up and finishing up this seed and showing us, what our runners are made of and what Free Enterprise can offer to everyone.
Alrighty, congratulations to all the runners, and definitely a good showcase for the 2v2 race here. I guess since we're a little bit ahead because we're about half an hour ahead, so not too bad. I'll just do a quick plug of some stuff again, just to. Oh.
Go ahead, Bernard. You're good.
Just as a quick thing. Okay, hang on. I'm a little bit trying not to lose my train of thought here. So yeah, just as a reminder, if you're all enjoying the marathon and want extra life, then be sure to check out the main Extra Life fundraising event happening November 2nd and 3rd. And for that, you can follow at First for Life on Twitter for more updates and information on the event.
Great. Thank you very much, Bernard. I think we have our runners in here. We can ask them a little bit about the seat here. Hey, GG to everybody. Fantastic race here today.
That was
Thank you.
up.
Yeah, thanks.
That was fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, how did that feel having everything you needed for go mode be right there in the open world?
Honestly, for me, it felt pretty bad. Because I needed defense items.
I mean,
I was like, I need more time to build myself.
it's a double-edged sword. 20-minute go mode, but you have no key items. Your gear is, we had an adamant armor, but if you're not really experienced in that Z fight,
Where was the
Yes.
adamant armor?
Rose's house in Barron.
What? Oh no!
Oh,
I
was
walked
it
right
on-
past it.
Yeah, it was in the pot.
Uh,
Yeah, I think too, like Val and I were talking during the thing, like it would have been really cool during this event to be able to show off the game a little more rather than just go for pure speed. So when we were 23-minute go mode, we were just like, oh, well, we're literally going to skip half the game.
I'm also sad that I was told to wait on the harp song and then didn't get to show it off because my computer died.
Oh no. Well, Bursik came in and was the hero. He filled in. So thanks
Yeah,
for
I
that,
did for the
Bursik.
hell of it. I thought you were doing it.
Nope, I was asked to wait, probably because whatever. But yeah, no. This was a lot of fun, and I got to give a really cool shout out to two of our developers, Scala, who designs the sea sprites and did these custom for us, and Boardface, who makes all of the harp songs.
Mm.
So, and
Yeah, both the Easter eggs that we saw, well, all the Easter eggs that we saw, because we saw a lot of them, but the harp song and the Z Sprite were exceptional today. So yeah, thank you for showing those off to us, and thank you to all of our donators for picking those, because those were fantastic.
Yeah, that Deltarune sprite is something else.
Yeah, but, oh my god, it made it.
Yeah,
It
that
was
was
impossible to
excellent.
see the finger during the fight, though. I could never tell who I was targeting.
Yeah, my favorites are the ones that are big enough that they actually spill over onto the party side of the screen. There's a couple like that. They're great.
I do want to say one thing. I am tired of Porum being there for me constantly. As much as I love the little girl, this is like the 4th time she's saved me in a seed, and I love rolling Porum percent apparently.
Well, you
Yeah,
just need to find the package, go turn that in. I got it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that chain for Rose. But yeah, Smapey, Maggie, thank y'all so much for coming out here and doing the commentary for this race. And of course, thank you to Tuaolo, Wag, and Bursik for joining and doing the 2v2. I know this takes some time sometimes, although a 20-minute seat.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. It was fun.
Yeah, it was still fun. It was fast fun, and it was. I don't know. I've never been in a situation where my final party was really one attacker and Edward, who happened to be able to use an attacking item.
Yeah, there was some very very interesting going, especially we saw some very low level Zeromus. Was that something y'all had been familiar with, or did you just kind of feel pressured from the speed of the seed to sort of get in there early?
Definitely the latter for me.
I happen to know the low-level Eddie strats, but I'm not going to spend. I'm not spending 20 minutes on a Z fight when I have sirens.
Yeah.
I was really
I was a
worried
little bit over leveled.
Yeah, I was worried about Porum's HP, but I shouldn't have been. I should have went in there probably at least 5 minutes earlier.
Well, I mean, I jumped in 20 minutes before my finish, and I, wiped 3 times, and I had to go change up my party and do some extra grinding. So, potato on that.
Yeah, I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was a single one shot in Zeromus. I think everybody.
Good.
So
Good.
he was hungry today.
My first Zeromus was an example of agility anchoring and why it's important.
Yeah, we got to get a good lesson in because of that.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's really fast. I think I made a mistake.
I just think I wanted to nerf the Big Bang, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm in second phase. He's going to get 2 shakes before he does Big Bang.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of commentator cursed y'all, because like we were talking about how, the 2 partners are going to be going to all the different locations to kind of try to condense everything. And I was like, yeah, and if they can be really long, like if you have to go to the moon and the underground and all this. And then I was like, yeah, but if everything's right on Earth, it can be really fast. And then everything was right on Earth. And I was like, oh, whoops, sorry.
Not even just on Earth. Everything was on the surface behind like nothing.
Yeah, it was right there, just waiting to be taken.
Yeah, that the misdirection of starting with the hook.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
I think we should go ahead and wrap this up. Once again, thank you to everyone that's working behind the scenes. This has been a great joy to work and be a part of. Again, thank you so much, Maggie and Smapey, for coming out here from our community to commentate this race.
Yes.
Thank you, Moonblaze Wolf, for getting us involved, and I'm going to enjoy Bernard's hosting later when I get to watch the VOD.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun, and thank you for a great show. It was definitely enjoyable to watch, and thank you to everybody who was watching and donating.
Yeah,
it was Very much appreciated.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Been a pleasure to help, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the marathon.
Yep.
Yeah, and donate money. Give money to them.
Yeah, we're at
Keep doing that.
77%, so let's keep going. We're almost there.
Yeah, that's much more than halfway. That's almost 100. It's practically 100. Just reach out and touch it. Get it.
By the way, just to mention, on a 2v2 seed, for the winners to be determined, you would add the 2 times together. So if y'all want to figure that out, be my guest. I'm just happy to have fun with, some really cool people for this.
Yeah, this was an enormous amount of fun. I've never actually taken part in a marathon like this before, other than doing technical stuff behind the scenes, which is also a lot of fun to do, if not, it's stressful in a different way. So this is a big first for me. But if anybody else wants to get involved in this game, because it hasn't quite been mentioned yet, and somebody else might be able to do a better job than me, so feel free to do so. But ffrfe.com. Just go there, fill out. You can just hit a drop down, just pick casual flags if it's your first time. If you just want to try it out, just want to explore, just give it a try. You'll get hooked. And I mean that not in the sense of the hook from the airship, but it's great. Just give it a shot if you have any interest at all. You probably will not be disappointed. And if you are disappointed, I'll give you your money back. Not the charity money. I mean the money you pay for. Just all right.
Yeah, that's already gone to a good cause. No take backsies.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a one way.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and head on out of here. Thank y'all everyone for having us and allowing us to showcase this awesome rant.
Definitely.
Yep. Thanks all.
Yes, thank you. Much love.
Bye-bye.